Hello and welcome to A Bunch of Therapists with me, Michaela McCarthy.
And me, Dipti Solanki. We'll be bringing you stories and insights from inside the therapy room.
So this week we have ShediYah coming on, and she is a therapist, but she's talking about herself going into therapy. And it's quite unusual because she had her children involved.
And another part of her story is that while she works with adults, she also works with young people who are connected to gang culture. And I think that part of the conversation is going to be potentially quite eye-opening for people to understand what happens in those circumstances as well. So yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. Looking forward to speaking to her.
So ShediYah, welcome. Thanks for coming on A Bunch of Therapists.
You're welcome.
And I just wondered if you want to share a little bit about your journey. So why a therapist?
There was a time in my life when I was in a relationship that was quite turbulent, and I felt quite, had low self-esteem, no confidence, had a supportive family that was kind of keeping me bobbing along, supporting me with my children. And I encountered relationships with particular professionals. One was a probation officer. It wasn't my probation officer. It was actually my ex-partner's probation officer. And another relationship was with a social worker. I was curious about becoming a social worker. And then I was curious also about becoming a therapist. And at that time, my life changed in a manner that I reached out for therapy myself. And I wasn't trusting of anyone having my children aside from my family.
How old were your children then?
At that time, my daughters were possibly 3.
Oh, they were little.
And 3 and 4. Yeah, very little.
And you were worried about the children and you going into therapy?
Definitely, yeah. And I didn't trust anyone to have them apart from my family. And at that time, I didn't, it was within the community, within the Caribbean community, you don't go to therapy. If you've got a problem.
So how many years are you going back?
So we're talking about 30 years ago.
Yeah, so 30 years, I mean, if I think about 30 years ago, I was in therapy for 27 years and I haven't been for probably just over 2 now. And when I went into therapy within my community, I didn't know anyone who was in therapy. I was just very fortunate, I always say, that I met 2 women who were in therapy and they lived a very different lifestyle to me, and the opportunity came my way and I thought, well, I was unhappy in my life, really unhappy, and I had no direction, but I knew I needed something. And I think that's kind of similar to where you are, going back that long ago, that actually certain communities, we live in a very class society in the UK. They didn't go into therapy.
No. So what did it take for you to go to therapy then, with all of that being the backdrop?
I think it sort of began with the support that I was receiving from my ex-partner's probation officer. He was quite supportive of me, telling me at that time to leave. It was quite a turbulent relationship, and telling me to leave the relationship. I wasn't trusting in that because my confidence was low, self-esteem low. So I had this negative view of myself, and it was starting to encounter those positive relationships that kept me above water at that time. And the probation
tell us what
officer,
going into therapy was like.
I think it was the words of the probation officer that sort of said, you need more support, and it would be really useful if you had a counsellor, like therapy. And I thought at that time, no way. No, I'm not doing that. I haven't got mental health challenges.
Okay, but there's something about this probation officer. What was it about? Was it a he, she?
A he.
Okay, so what was it about this person?
I could phone him anytime that I wanted to, and he would have time for me, talking to me, supporting me, sometimes at times in my life when I was fearful. And I believe that was my first steps with therapy, having that like professional relationship and supporting me to finally make that decision to change my life and to leave. Sometimes I didn't want to hear what he had to say, because a lot of the time he was speaking about me leaving that relationship. And I thought, how am I going to do that? How am I going to leave? As you know, as we were discussing before, it's like changing your whole world. How am I going to leave something that I'm uncomfortable with, but yet comfortable with? And that confusion in my mind.
I think a lot of people listening in will resonate with that when you're in a relationship that is difficult, turbulent for lots of different reasons. It's difficult to stay and difficult to leave as well.
Well, it's what you know.
Yeah. So therapy, you feel, helped you move through that? Was that what happened?
Definitely. And I feel the first step with therapy, the person that I met at that time, because I said to her, I'm not gonna I have to bring my children. So she didn't say, oh no, you can't bring your children, you know, it's just this one-to-one space. And she just said, okay, and explained to me what the setup was going to be. So there was an open plan office, and I would be able to see my children in the distance from on the other side of the office.
So they couldn't hear what you were saying?
No, they couldn't hear what I was saying.
And they could see you as well?
Yes, they could see me, and the person that was with them as well, I can see them, and they would wave at me sometimes. You know, that was supportive for them as well.
Yeah.
You know, so having that
felt
opportunity.
Therapeutic all the way around, yeah.
So how long did
well.
that process for you last? Because that would have been a big step.
That first encounter with therapy, I think it was about 12 or 16 weeks.
Okay.
Something like that.
So when did you feel safe enough to be able to see a therapist and not have your children on the other side of the screen?
I think it was that whole process I was with my children, but I think it was when I started studying.
Okay.
Yeah, when I started studying as a therapist.
So it was going through that process of therapy where that cemented which kind of career you wanted to work with people?
It was one of them. I may have wanted to become, at that time I wanted to be a probation officer, social worker, or a therapist. And I actually embarked on 4 years of voluntary work in all those areas, supporting families, to work out whether I'll do probation office, become a probation officer, social worker, or a therapist. And my decision to become a therapist felt quite powerful. I feel part of the journey as well, leading up to me actually studying, was encountering things like meditation, breath work, yoga, different visualizations, and also dreams was something that I was kind of brought up with, connecting with, you know, with my mom and my dad and just the family as a whole.
Say more about that. Dreams is something you were brought up with. What did that look like?
When I'd wake up in the morning, you know, mum and dad, greet my mum and dad or whatever, and what did you dream about? Be like, what did you dream about?
Some families do. I mean, I always do. Because I'm interested in dreams, and that was something, it wasn't unusual.
No, I've got my sister. I remember we shared a bedroom growing up, and she had this book of dreams, and the first thing she would do is wake up and go, oh my God, I had this really amazing dream last night, and she'd look it up, and she still does that. And now her little girl is like, Mummy, what did you dream about last night? So some people, I feel like it's almost depending on how your worldview is, it almost serves as like a portal for a lot of people, doesn't it? To make sense of this world. I don't know, but tell me about your family. And
how did you, because you can forget your dreams so quickly by just going to the loo.
Yes. So as a child, it was just part of the process of wake up in the morning. And sometimes my parents would ask what your dream was. Sometimes I'd be willing to say, oh my gosh, guess what I dreamt of. Sometimes it would be family members that had transitioned. And my mum would explain that they just come in to visit, to say goodbye. So I was quite open to those kind of dreams. And the fear began to reduce around those understandings of particular dreams and what things meant. And I felt also, just connecting it with therapy at times, that giving a space to a client to share their dream, you know, without them feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't speak to anybody else about my dreams. But I feel it's part of the work, you know, it's not tapping into the psyche. You know,
it's
what
another
was
part
it?
of you, right?
Yeah. What was it in the dream? What did you encounter? How was it? You know, it could be something that they're thinking about and there's successes in the dream. It could be something they're thinking about and there's challenges in the dream. And just supporting them that, you know, life has ups, life has downs. And sometimes dreams can be pointing out certain insecurities about yourself. You know, what things are you putting in your path, your own path, or allowing to block your path so that you can't move further, and just supporting them to navigate things like that.
What do you both think about people who either don't dream or can't remember their dreams? What does that say?
At times it can be they don't want to remember their dream, potentially, or whatever is going on may be too powerful for them to recall. Maybe a bit of doubt just blocking out the dream, you know. But I feel if we pause, you know, you can sometimes remember the dream. And
what they say is, you know, is to actually have a dream diary. And even if you wake up like during the night, just jot down.
If you're enjoying A Bunch of Therapists, why not like, subscribe and share with a friend? Can you tell us about any client work that you can recall that was particularly powerful, where Dreamwork played a part in that?
Yeah, there was a young person that I worked with in a secondary school, and she would have like reoccurring dreams about her grandmother visiting her. And sometimes she wasn't sure if it was a memory that she had of her grandmother being with her or if it was the actual dream. So just being that safe space for her to talk about whether it was the dream, whether it was the memory of her grandmother, and how that felt at the time as well, really connecting her feelings with her grandmother, because her grandmother at the time when I was working with her had died. So she couldn't speak to any family members about her grandmother. And she actually felt she had an encounter where her grandmother visited her and was sat on the ends of her bed. And she was in communications with her grandmother. Just general conversations. It was never anything. She wasn't scared. She didn't feel like she was going mad or anything like that. She just felt she was having encounters with her grandmother. And I believe that to be true.
I mean, it's not unusual to hear stories like that when people have lost someone close to them. And they say that they're at the end of the bed, and they could wake up and that person's probably not at the end of the bed, but it's so powerful. It's a vision somehow, and you have a dialogue.
Sounds like that process that you held space for allowed her to process her grief and but you work with young people in lots of different ways as well, don't you? Tell us a bit more about that.
So I work with young people, supporting them. You know, some of them are navigating gangs. They're part of a gang, and just working with them to, it's almost like beginning to look at themselves for who they are, and particular choices that they may have made, And I've worked with some young people in particular that have, you know, sometimes they say, you know, you attract particular clients at particular times in your life. So it's primarily, for myself, it's been gang members or ex-gang members now that have witnessed or encountered the loss of somebody very close to them. And them feeling, with the loss of their best friend, that life isn't worth going on. And it's not so much like suicidal ideation. That doesn't have a look in. It's more now they can go out and seek revenge, or maybe make particular decisions.
Almost like there's nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And even now as I'm speaking, you know, getting a little bit of chills. And just giving them space to really process that anger. Sometimes there's screams, sometimes there's shouting.
And it's a reaction,
tears.
isn't it? It's a reaction, you know.
Sometimes there's nothing, just plateau. They just want to come and just be in that safe space at that time, because they're also navigating other people that have, you know, done something to their loved ones, maybe potentially doing something to them.
What ages do you see?
The ages vary from 13, 15, 16, sometimes children that, well, young people that are outside of the school system as well.
You know, for a lot of young people that we all will know, the world is a place full of opportunity and it's fresh and you're excited about what you're going to get up to that day. But for these young people, that's not the case, is it?
No. It's sometimes it's also, just to add to what you said, it's living moment by moment. Sometimes minute by minute, which is quite stressful.
And I think social media now, especially for young people today, adds even more pressure.
Yeah, and I think also that pressure for some young people is a drug. If life isn't a pressure, if there isn't chaos and challenges, am I actually living? Am I actually functioning?
That's so powerful.
So sometimes, you know, the challenge for myself is I'm coming along and sitting with them and calm and etc. And they can kind of push back a lot with me. You know, why are you so, what's going on? What are you doing? Are you analysing me? And then sort of go into that. And no, I'm not analysing you.
The being versus the doing.
Yeah. And just sometimes having conversations with them, really breaking down just that being.
Just out of interest for me, when you have them in the room, you know, and you're working with them on your own, let's say, do they show their vulnerability even in bits of just you see them, see them as the person, not the gang member?
Well, look at, if I go back a couple of steps to what you were saying, you know, they walk into the space and that persona, you know, you just see it unveiling. They walk into the space and sometimes, take shoes off, lie down, or just be slumped in the chair, or however they want to be.
Does it take a lot of work on your part to get them to that place?
It depends. Sometimes, usually when a young person comes forward, they're ready. They're ready. The first couple of sessions, and I think also I'm seeing them for who they are. I'm curious in who you truly are. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are your visions? And some of them can't visualize at that stage because, maybe they're using substances. But just giving them that, just imagine, you know, just being barefoot in the grass, and they may not want to do that, but whatever they resonate with, you know, just imagine that you're sitting here and there's a hat on your head right now, even though there isn't. Can you see that? Just to encourage them to begin perceiving and visualizing and just imagining something else for themselves.
You know, when you're little children, you know, you ask little children, no matter where they have, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, this kind of thing. Some people want to be a ballerina, or some people want to be a policeman, or some people want, and they have, and then all of a sudden, you know, the environment just like knocks them down.
Yeah.
Just takes all that away, the innocence.
Yeah.
You can't just do 6 sessions. And then it's like a lot of these kids, and even adults, it's trauma. You can't work with trauma in 6, 12 sessions.
No. How long do you work with your young people for?
No. It can be like 12 to 18 sessions, sometimes open-ended. If a young person comes to me, it will be about person-centered, working out, you know, how are they day to day, kind of moving to the future and then maybe going back.
So for the viewer and listener, you've mentioned person-centered. We know what that is.
Oh, okay.
They probably have no idea what you're talking about.
So more working with day to day, how they are, looking at, are they sleeping well, eating well, are they washing themselves, how long even. Sometimes I would say to a young person, are you sleeping well? They, yeah, okay. How many hours? 1.
What time are you going to bed?
Exactly. So really, you know, getting the details, because I'm sleeping well, I'm okay. What was the process for you to fall asleep? You know, are they intoxicated with alcohol, substances, or are they just laying there looking at the ceiling and they fall asleep at 4 or 5 a.m.? And that's why, you know, they're late for this, late for that, disorganized. And just not judging them for that as well, you know, as counsellors, you know, really allowing them to trust in that non-judgmental relationship and honesty as well. So if at any time they feel like they want to hold back and not tell me something, they don't have to. But just make a note, make a personal note, and then maybe a few weeks' time you want to say, and maybe not, you know.
So if you were to reflect back on, you know, when you were speaking to the probation officer in your early days and your girls were little, and you sit here with us now, how's your life changed?
I think initially it was trusting in the process of encountering particular relationships, whether it be friendships or sexual relationships, and just having that understanding that it's okay to let go, because it's not fruitful to my growth, to my environment, to my family. I think initially it was that trust, developing that trust over the years.
Is that developing trust in yourself to let go?
Yeah, developing the trust in myself that I can make that choice, and just being grateful as well. Now I practice a lot of gratitude in my life, so grateful for the encounters, no matter how they are, because ultimately the uncomfortableness, the comfortableness, I'm going to be growing. So can I grow it upwards? You know, like, is it good for my evolution as a human being? Or is this a lesson? Well, all encounters are lessons. So what kind of lesson is this? Let me reflect upon that. And what can I learn from this? You know, and how can I use that as a useful tool moving forward, no matter the level of pain that may be upon your heart or your mind.
So for those listening in on the podcast, thank you first of all for sharing everything that you have. If you were to leave for some of your wisdom, and I feel like you have such a wise soul and I could speak to you for much, much longer, what would you want people to know?
I think one important message from myself would be, you have a voice. You know, even if they believe they don't have a voice, they do have a voice, they do have a choice, and not everybody out there will judge them for what they need to say or what they need to do in order to navigate another chapter in their life.
That's really powerful. So you know, it's given permission, you know, that people do have the power their own power to make their own decisions.
No matter what your circumstances.
You take the first
call.
step.
That brave first step.
Yeah. Send an email.
Yeah.
Send a text.
Yeah.
Bring a friend.
Exactly.
You know.
Bring your children like you did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, ShediYah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to A Bunch of Therapists with me, Michaela McCarthy, and Dipti Solanki.
And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to review, like and subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcasts. And do follow us on our socials. Until next time, see you soon.